Rockers. I'm Copper Kelly.
And I'm Jodie Lucas, and you're welcome to the Folkin Around podcast.
Your favourite country music podcast. On this episode, we bring you part 2 of Chantelle Padden's interview. And what did Chantelle Padden get up to last night on the television, Joe?
Well, I'm sure you all know by now that our Chantelle did absolutely amazing on The Voice UK. She got 2 chair turns from Olly and will.i.am. And yeah, she's now on Team Olly and just amazing. I think, you know, from the moment she came onto the TV, I was crying. I was so emotional. It was so lovely to see her and so humble and doing it for Mayo and so proud, you know, of where she comes from and her roots. And I'm sure the whole of Ireland are behind her and she's going to do amazingly.
Of course, you actually spoiled it on me as well. I was watching it on the Virgin Media online player and I was just waiting for her to come on. And then Joe texted me going, I knew she'd pick Olly. What?
I think I ruined it for a lot of people. I put it up on my Facebook. I just was like, Team Olly, I'm so proud. And I wasn't aware that there was a delay on the channel over in Ireland. So I ruined it for a lot of people on social media. So I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry as well.
But this interview that we did with her, we recorded it last Sunday, which is obviously a week ago. So we were talking to her before we knew about the results, and she didn't tell us what happened either. So
she was very tight-lipped about it. We did try.
We tried to get it over, but she wouldn't budge on it. But this is a continuation of that interview. That interview went on for about 2 hours, which we were chatting away, having a great crack with her. And on this episode, we continued that interview, but we talked to her about a few other things, who she'd take to dinner. She tells us a bit of a ghost story as well for the crack. And so have you had more to say before we kick into this, Joe?
No, just I hope you all enjoy it as much as you enjoyed the first part. So our final fan question comes from somebody who I think, again, you'll know, Amy Gilgan, who is a singer herself. And she's, you know, openly said that you're a huge inspiration to her and she really looks up to you and what you do. But she wants to know who your inspirations are. Who do you see yourself wanting to follow down that career path like?
Well, I've known Amy now for a good while and she's such a lovely girl, and I believe that she will definitely go places. Like, her talent, she's always working on herself and her vocals, always popping up her videos and everything. And I remember we've often had conversations where like she has asked for advice and stuff, and we'd just be chatting away, girl chat, you know yourself. But that's a good question. It's a tough one as well because I have so many. But when it comes to music, I always looked up to the kind of singers that could just stand on a stage with or without a backing band and command a stage and just gain love and respect for just like owning their skills, their talent. Like the likes of Celine Dion or Whitney Houston, they could just stand there and they commanded the stage. They didn't need backing dancers or they didn't need to be prancing around the stage, even though they could move on stage, you know what I mean? And Adele, like I guess I've always dreamed that I'd have an opportunity to maybe perform in a stadium environment, or which is, I'm aiming very high, and it might never ever happen, but I've always kind of, I always
said, and the Grand Ole Opry as well, you said.
Do you know, like the likes of that, you know, exactly. I've always looked up to like massive vocals, and I've thought, well, do you know what? If you don't dream big, then, you know, it's kind of, it wouldn't motivate me, because I've reached certain levels and I've really been inspired by many different singers. Like when I was pursuing the Irish country dream, which I had for years, Teresa Rogers from up the north. I think it's Donegal she's from. Don't quote me on it. I could be wrong. But Teresa Rogers, she, phenomenal. To this day, I adore her voice. And then there was the likes of the more old school traditional, like Shanno singers, like Nan Tom Tamine, who I adore. And like, just, you know, there's a lot of people think, that I'm just into the American country and that's my aim, that if I got America, I'd forget about everything else. But no, that's literally not it. I think I've had so many different influencers throughout my whole life. My granddad being the number one always. But yeah, for each genre I've listened to, there's been lots of lots of leading ladies. Like I loved Dolores Kane as well. And I loved the power that she had. She could just stand there and just sing. And by God, you'd hear her because the power in her voice was unreal. And do you know, I've literally taken little, I suppose, inspo from all of them and tried to work it into creating my own little, I don't know, my own little product to get myself
well,
out
it's
there.
Working. It's working anyway.
hopefully. God, it's nerve-wracking and it's daunting, like, because who knows what the future holds. But it's amazing. Like, I remember being little and I never thought I'd ever get the chance to even meet some of the people I used to listen to on the radio. And I mean, like, I was very much so, like, music was my life. I was living, eating, breathing music, always listening to, I'd listen to anything from the Spice Girls to Seamus Moore. Like, honest to God, I listened to so much because, I don't know, I had a different song for each mood, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And you're saying you're kind of influenced by rock as well.
Yeah, like I love a bit of Guns N' Roses, Bon Jovi, everything. Like I, even when I went to college in BIM in Dublin, which is a music college for anyone that's not familiar with it. And I was learning so much from like some of the best in the business. Like, you know, the college itself had so many connections to the music world, be it record labels, producers, so many people, like, and I'm still in touch with a lot of like my teachers that I had there. And they've always seen, like when I started BIM, so I did my Leaving Cert in 2015. And when I started BIM, you know, all I was singing was Coat of Many Colours or Born in Birmingham, or, you know, I was really, really Irish country and the more old school Irish country where it was all about storytelling. And then when I started there, they gave us a list of songs that we had to do like during the audition to get into the college. And the song I chose to do was Rolling in the Deep by Adele.
Wow.
And it was the only one on the list that I knew, to be completely honest with you. There was a lot of rock. There was a lot of like Paramore. And I was just like, this is the only one I know. So I remember going into the audition and it was a tiny little room, no bigger than this wardrobe now, tiny. And it was... Dave Payton was his name, who actually was my teacher when I got in. But he auditioned me, and Dave is like straight to the point, no beating around the bush. And basically he said to me, okay, so what experience do you have? We went through the whole auditioning process, and it was kind of like I had to do like vocal warm-ups and all this kind of thing. And as soon as he went to the keyboard, I was like, I'm going to stop you there for a second. And then he was like, what? And then I was like, I have no idea about what you're about to do. I've never had vocal lessons. I'm more than likely not going to know what vocal warm-ups are or what to do. And he must have thought, who is this random landing? And he basically just turned around. He had a swivel chair. I just remember he turned around. Can you sing? And like, we got on like this afterwards because he was just my cup of tea. Like, and I was like, well, you can be the judge of that. And I remember the back track started. And I could tell by the way he was looking, he was like, okay. Okay. And then he was like,
here.
how have you not done vocal lessons before? And I was like, my granddad taught me everything, but I learned by ear. There was no such thing as going to classes or, there was no one near me that did it at the time. So it wasn't a case that I could just get up and go to a vocal teacher. Granddad was my vocal teacher. So I was like, well, you tell me what to do and explain how it needs to be done, and I'll do it for you. But when it comes to paper, like music wise, I was just me to this day. Me and music theory just don't go. Like I'm not book smart. You give me something practical to do, and I'll work my hardest at it. And you know, I will put in. I'll put in the work.
Yeah, I got to go by ear. You couldn't put scales and things. Grand. I'd learn one and forget tomorrow. Yeah. And it's just.
It's literally because he had said to me, he was like, that's a brilliant way to be, you know. And then he had said, you're country. And then I was like, oh, he heard the country in my voice. And I was doing an Adele song. And then he was like, you've got like a little yodel or something. That's how he explained it. You've got like a little yodel, which is obviously the country twang. Yeah. Which came through, thankfully. And then he was like, have you ever tried rock before? And this is when the doors of the different genres started opening. Because I remember one day, we obviously had to do a different song each week. And it was like a Led Zeppelin, or there was like really like old school songs. Diana Ross. There was like loads of other kind of genres that we had to approach to learn how to sing correctly. So obviously there's different techniques in singing different songs so you don't bust your throat or whatever. So yeah, they taught me how to sing rock the right way, like obviously using the different parts of your chest and belt and your gut. Yeah, of course. And it was them that really opened my eyes to what my vocals could do and what I could work on to keep improving and keep like pushing myself, you know, see where the limits were. And I learned where my weaknesses were, and I learned where my strong points were. So I always liked trying to work on my lower register, and I always loved trying to keep building just how high I can go. So every time that I've done like they did like a vocal test to see how many what's the word? Basically, how many octaves I can go up.
And the range.
Yes, and all this. Whenever trying to test my range and see how low and how high I could go, every time it was different. They couldn't understand. They were like, what? And then I hadn't a clue what they were on about, because it was, I was like, I'm just going to sing. And I think the more I became comfortable, like singing like really low or really, really high and in between, you just automatically start improving it and strengthening it. Yeah. And I just learned how to graft and learn from being in BIM, like, you know, in the other genres like rock and stuff. And even though I'm not a rock singer by any means, geez, I'd never take on a rock song unless it was
I think you do a great job of something.
Oh God!
Definitely have the belting power anyway.
I'd love to see you do a bit of Meatloaf. Actually, I think you'd really kill that.
Oh, could you imagine? Oh God! we had to do songs like that. I remember. Sorry, this is actually where I was getting to. Dave, they gave us a song by Metallica. Yes, nice. Metallica. And I remember I went up and I was like, sure, I'm not going to be able to sing this. And I burst out laughing. I was like, I'd never, ever, like, they weren't something that would be on my playlist. But when we actually studied them and listened to them and broke down the different sections and what it takes to create a track like that, I respect all genres. And it was a really, really difficult genre to, like, for someone to create. You know, there's a lot of work that goes into it, but and to do it correctly without, like, you know, causing vocal nodules and everything. So But I remember when we did it in the live performance class, they were like, I can't believe it. She's turned Metallica country.
That I want to hear in a weird way.
I'm a huge Metallica fan, so I definitely want to hear that.
They were like, how? Like, every song that I did, regardless what style it was, you will hear the country coming through. And that's how I know my roots will always be country, because it's like Miley. Miley Cyrus records pop tracks now that are like really produced like by pop producers and everything. But you go to listen to Miley live, she goes back to her roots. She's got a really country vibe going on with the band.
The sessions she has where she
the backyard
session song, the backyard ones,
unreal.
Absolutely brilliant.
Unreal. And I love that she's very smart, as in, you know, there's a lot of people that listen to Miley because they're a pop fan. Then you know, she's also keeping the likes of myself really, really intrigued with her, because she can do it like a song like Jolene, you know, in the middle of a gig, like after We Can't Stop or We Won't Stop. Do you know, like she just mixes it up.
Crazy.
It's kind of going back to the element.
For sure. Isn't Dolly Parton her like godmother or something, isn't it? So I think you've got to be able to.
She is indeed her fairy godmother. Yeah. Imagine having Dolly Parton as a godmother. I'd be like, what?
Just call her up anytime. Hey, Dolly. You know.
Oh my God.
She calls her Dolly. Miss Parton?
Hey, Dolly. Yeah, I'd say so. I remember watching this an episode of Hannah Montana where she like brought Dolly on, and I was like, oh, my two favorite people. Oh God. Yeah, I've always been a huge fan of Dolly.
I think Copper's probably got a few of his random quick questions for you. So why don't we throw a few of them at you and
so now
see
I'm
how
going to
they
be
go.
put under pressure.
Cool. So tell me this, what was the last gig you were at that wasn't your own before the whole thing that we can't talk about hit the world?
The last gig that I was at Trees. It's been so long.
That you bought a ticket for and went to see
if
yourself.
She says Metallica now, I'm leaving.
Because that was mine. Mine was Slane in Metallica there. That was my last one.
I can't remember when my last concert was. To be fair now, that's so sad.
Do you not get a chance to go to as many because you do them yourselves? Is that what it is?
Well, yeah, I wouldn't really class the concerts that I might get up to do a set at or do a song.
Yeah. No, yeah.
You know, but the actual last concert that I went to, where I physically bought the ticket to go, was Macklemore in Marley Park.
Oh, wow.
Which was ages ago. How sad! I need to go to another concert.
I was like, you need a
more.
Gig. Can we sort a gig, please?
Yeah, literally. And that was such an unreal gig. I remember his the computer crashed and there was like no music for ages, but he just sang a cappella and it just made the concert. Like he didn't care. He's like, let's do it this way. And he just started, the whole place erupted and it was the best concert that I had been at. Obviously, I haven't been to many, but it'll definitely always be a highlight concert because just his showmanship was unbelievable. Unreal.
Yeah.
That's a good show of a good showmanship. When something goes wrong, they can still, if you have no sound, you can still hold an audience with just their voice and acoustic guitar or something like that, you know?
For sure, plenty of singers would just walk off, wouldn't they? And wouldn't even attempt to do anything.
Yeah,
I just get pissed off and throw the guitar down. I can't work like this.
I'll be Chantelle on The Voice next week.
Could you imagine?
Working these
mic drop. I'm out of here.
I kind of want you to come on now and be like a real diva on it, just to be a completely different person.
I'd say so many people are probably thinking, like, some people probably hate me, like that's just life, because sometimes it's hard to get to know someone. But you know yourself, like when we post like pictures and like videos online, like say music videos, for example, like you're in a character, so they're not really seeing you until I do things like this where I'm just myself, like, you know, I'm but then
I always say on social media, you always show your best self, and you're always
definitely,
you know, and people think that that's quite a false thing, and I guess in a way it is, but also I'm not going to post a picture of me sitting in bed in my pajamas with a hair mask on eating Pop-Tarts, because I don't think that that's interesting to people. Do you know what I mean?
Well, do you know what? It's kind of, I'm very much like that. I'm one of those people that tries not to post the bad parts of my life, just for the simple reason. It's kind of, I think there's enough negativity online. And it's not even the bad parts of, like, do you know, it's kind of, I would love to have more confidence to post a picture without makeup or this or that. But it's just, I've always been a very self-conscious girl. And it's only lately that I've been able to talk about it. Like, I've spoken to the newspapers and like magazines and stuff. I've been as open as I can be. Do you know, like how I was really overweight for a lot of years of my teenage years, like looked completely different, like shaved my hair into like a boy short bob, which didn't suit me because I was so heavy, and it just I just looked very, very different. But you know, it was just a phase in my life where I just thought I wasn't heading where I wanted to be, and I got inside my own head.
Still finding yourself though at that age, aren't you? And you're still sort of and I still think that I always say, it's really funny, I always apologize to anyone who knew me before my 30s, and like I'm nearly to 40s now, but before my 30s, I think I'm such a completely different person, because you're trying so hard to fit into everybody else's expectations of yourself. And especially when you're quite sometimes in the public eye, people expect you to be a certain way and to continue to be a certain way. And it's hard to grow. And sometimes you do need that time just to switch off, step back and go, who am I and who am I trying to impress here? Because at the end of the day, it's yourself you have to make happy, isn't it?
Well, that's it. I mean, I totally agree. Like, it's when you're like in the public eye, as you say, and stuff, and you know that there's people watching that you will influence to a certain extent, and you know they might look at your page and compare themselves to you, or you know, I've often been on social media where I've compared myself to another, and I feel, okay, well, if I don't post pretty pictures or you know Insta worthy pictures, then is people going to be interested in it? And I'm kind of like, okay, well, the only time I post pictures now is if it's kind of music related, and I will get to the stage where I'll be like, I'm not going to wear makeup in this live, or do you know, I will. I'm slowly but surely getting there. And I think sometimes it's tough because in my case, I suffer with my skin a lot. because I wear so much makeup all the time. Like I get breakouts, and I eat the chocolate if I want the chocolate, or this or that, and I have bad skin days and all this crap. So that's why I tend to wear makeup a lot of the times online. And I just feel like sometimes even I've gotten messages in the past where people would be like, you don't need the eyelashes, or you don't need all that makeup. But it's kind of, I respect where they're coming from, and it is a compliment to a certain extent. And I'm like, okay, fair enough. If you think that I don't need it, that's brilliant. But I'm kind of like, but I like putting on makeup.
And what difference does it make to their life if you have them on or not? That's what my answer is to everything at the moment.
It's so bad, because then my kind of way of not like trying to prove a point, but I like wear more makeup on the next picture, or I'll wear bigger lashes. And I'm like, well, I'm wearing them anyway, so I don't care. I think when you get to a certain stage where you're comfortable, like, I don't care if everybody, listens to my music, and, if they have criticism to give me, I respect that, because I always look for things to improve on. And the fact that someone could go out of their way to message and say, you don't need makeup, you look fine without it, I respect that. But it's kind of like, we need to get to a stage where we don't really care what people think of us to a certain extent.
Yeah, and I think that, but on top of that, we should get to a point where people don't feel the need to have to say that. And I think that there's a saying that I'll probably get completely wrong, but it's something like, if you say something to somebody and it's something they can't change or fix within 1 minute, don't tell them, because there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, 100%. It's literally like, it's just who we are. Like, I'm a girl that likes to dress up. I have a weird sense of style most of the time. I'm either really dressed up looking like grungy or whatever, trying to look some sort of funky way, or else I'm in my hoodie or my pajamas with my
I'm
suit
full
cream
glam
on
or
my face.
homeless. There's nothing in between.
Exactly. There's no in between. I literally, like, I remember I turned up on set for one of the rehearsals before, and I had like suit cream on my face. I had to go and get my makeup
so
done.
Irish.
I was like, pay no heed to me, because we were wearing masks and no one really seen me. And then I was like, pay no heed to me, I'll be glammed up now in a while. And then they were like, who's that? Like, biggest catfish ever. But no, it was I think if people like you and support you, they'll just vibe off whatever you feel like doing. And I don't really have time for anyone that's negative. So, people that are able to, and fair play to them, that are able to like post a picture of them, anyone that's suffering like from like if they have a bad day or they're suffering with mental issues and everything, people that can openly talk about that, I respect that so much, and I find that very, very interesting. But I think thankfully I don't have a reason to have that sort of like content on my page. So I need to post more pictures, maybe like with less makeup or whatever. But that's just.
But I think you've still got to accept that you're not going to make everybody happy. There's still going to be people that will say, I've done it myself, where people have, I've been going through tough times and people have known that, and they'll say, oh, but you're so happy on social media. So then I'll post something that's maybe a bit more real, and they'll be going, you're attention seeking. And it's like, you just can't make everybody happy.
You can't.
At all.
That's literally, like, I feel when it comes to situations like this, I'll be completely open and say, Jesus, I'm by no means anywhere near perfect, and I don't ever want to be. But it's like, we do try and mask our flaws. And but when you're talking to me, you're talking to me. Like, it's kind of like, people, when they meet me, it's what you see is what you get. And I try and get that across too. Like, whenever I'm jumping on my stories to talk, or when I do a live video, or it's an opportunity for me to show more of my personality and stuff. And, I'm not this hard-faced girl that looks either cocky or moody in half her pictures, or, it's kind of, sometimes in the music world, we have to become a character to sell a song. And I think sometimes I feel like maybe sometimes people might think that all the hard-faced pictures and all the moody-looking ones, is that what she's like personality-wise? And I'm like, no, I'm actually not. I'm the biggest tomboy.
But it's quite nice as well that people don't know the real you. You get to keep that little part of yourself to yourself.
Yeah, to be fair, like, we wouldn't really open up and show our, like, all of our sides, I suppose, all my crazy personalities. Like, my friends see that side to me, whereas I think yeah, it's nice to keep some things personal, like, or, you know, there's only a handful of people that have ever seen me cry. The whole world will see me cry on Saturday, because I'm the kind of person I am. There's a lot of things that set me back and knocked me, like same as a lot of people have been through. Like, I know yourself, you've been through an awful hard time as well, and it's kind of, we don't want to talk about certain things, but then in order to be real and connect with people, keep the common touch with people, which I've always believed in. You know, your fans are the people that make your dreams a reality. So I've always tried to be really open and stuff. And the background story or whatever, obviously the camera crews and everything couldn't travel to Ireland because it was a very difficult time. So with COVID and everything. So I hadn't seen my parents in months. It was very emotional doing all the interviews because I had only seen them on Zoom calls and everything. And hearing from other contestants that, oh yeah, the camera crews were able to do a bit of background story and everything. My story will be told in pictures. But it's also the fact that
you'll have me crying at it as well, and I'm supposed to be a hard nut.
Well, no, it's honestly like, I'm not one for like all these sob stories and everything, you know, but my story, because I wasn't able to bring the crew of cameras and stuff over to show them Belmullet and parts of Mayo, I had to just send them on pictures and stuff so they can use it in when just, you know, how they do like a background story on the show, just to give viewers at home an insight into, you know, what such a contestant is all about and all this kind of thing. So I tried to pick images and stuff that showcase who I really was, you know, as in growing up singing in places like the Galtymore, which is a big Irish country venue. And, you know, they all know about the period in my life when I was giving up music and when I didn't do much and, you know, obviously looked very different and stuff. So when I went through like a hard time and all that, because it's true, like, you know, I've been very open about it lately, where for a long, long time I battled with, you know, even when I do like photo shoots and stuff to this day, I'm very, 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 very critical. Like, I'm a nightmare. I'm a nightmare. I'm like, oh no, I don't like it, go again. Or, you know, like, I'll always pick faults. And it sounds like, you know, we've heard this kind of thing 1,000 times before, because there's lots of girls that are like this, but I never really, the little chubby, shy kind of, you know, girl that I once was is still there. So I've always been trying to overcome the struggles that, you know, I just felt like I wasn't good enough or I wasn't going to go anywhere. So I wanted people to see that, you know, what they see now isn't, you know, before I had like blonde hair and, you know, wore lots of makeup and kind of dressed, you know, I suppose I've tried to dress now like with all the latest fashion trends and all this kind of thing. I wasn't like, I hid away in hoodies for a long time and a soda cream. And it was before I discovered tan or eyebrows. Like I was very, very different. And I just think because going through that stage of my life, I really appreciate like the feedback and just everything that I get now, because it took a long, long time to start believing in myself. So the fact that, you know, major people that work in the industry every day seeing potential in me, and I'm getting an opportunity to showcase who I am as a person and as a singer. There's a lot riding on it, because I have worked hard a very long time, like a lot of years, trying to get an opportunity like this one. So because of that now, I'm really, really grateful that people will get to see a bit more about me, like from behind the scenes. And I've noticed they're playing a lot of bloopers. I've had so many bloopers. Like, I'm not going to lie, like I'm very bad now. I swear a lot. But
I never would have guessed.
I swear a lot. And sometimes I'm like, I need to be careful, like, because I'd be, you know, when you're rambling on, you're like, I'm not going to say it now, but like,
for sure, that's the Irish coming through in you, isn't it? You know, all the time. Yeah.
Maybe not on here. I'm trying to, restrict myself with the language a little bit, but it can pop up from time to time. So
we've had a few from Chantelle today, I've noticed, to be fair.
So, one or two little ones.
We'll have to put that warning on it.
Beep, beep. Yeah, it's because I feel comfortable talking to you. And it's not like every second word would be a swear word or anything. But like, I don't know, maybe it's an Irish thing. I don't know, but I just do it as like,
I think so.
Yeah, like, yeah. And another thing that I used to say an awful lot would be like, "Oh Lord," do you know? And I'm kind of like,
Jesus.
a lot of people watching this, they might not be religious, and they'll probably want to switch off the TV if they keep, hearing me saying, "Oh Lord," or "The Lord."
Or they get offended by it. Yeah.
So I need to be really like, there's so much going through my head that I need to be really careful about. But I haven't seen any snippets back of anything of my audition or anything, so I have no idea what to expect.
You'll be watching it like the rest of us.
I'll be watching it like everyone else, and I'm literally, I'm dreading it. But like, oh Jesus, it's because obviously it's going to be up online forever. So I just hope that I've done the song justice, and I just hope people like what they're hear. And
I'm sure they will.
Yeah, it's crazy. I still can't believe I got this far. Like, just genuinely, like, it's crazy.
Okay. Well, to round out this interview, I have two more questions for you. First one is, if you were marooned on a desert island and you had 3 CDs washed up with you that you could only listen to, that's all you had, what 3 CDs would you hope they would be?
Chris Stapleton, Starting Over, or
Traveller. The new one, isn't it?
Yeah, love, absolutely love. Probably Luke Combs and Celine Dion, the hits.
Yes. I was going to say All American, but she's Canadian, of course, isn't she?
Yeah.
Canadian French, I think. Yeah.
French,
and actually, it's, when she speaks, there's certain words that you like when she's singing and she speaks. There's certain words where she almost sounds Irish. Like she would pronounce words. Like a lot of people have said now, certain words I sing that they were like, oh, it sounds like Celine Dion, but it's the way we pronounce our words.
Yeah.
So like I would say world. So when I sing like world, or if I sing, what's the other word? Way. Like it's really weird. It's hard to explain, but there's certain words that we say very similar. And even the voice team have picked up on it. They've been like, do you listen to Celine Dion? And I was like, I do, but hang on a minute now. Celine Dion isn't country. So like, it's kind of, I loved Celine Dion for the way she would present herself on stage and her power notes and all that. And who else was there? Christina Aguilera, which is strange because I never actually listened. I love Christina Aguilera's voice, but I never listened to her much growing up. But a lot of people have said that they hear similarities and like just similar vibes.
I wouldn't have thought that before, but now you've said it. Yeah, it's definitely, you can sort of...
There's that tone in your voice. The timbre, as they say.
It could be, but I never actually listened to Christina that much, even though I adore her now. I think she's brilliant. But yeah, growing up, it's kind of like, well, the only ones I really listened to was like from the age of like 3 to like 7, Spice Girls. Seamus Moore was on repeat. Like everyone laughs about this, but it's true. Like back then it was them, the videos. So I'd be watching these videos and it was literally that one. I loved like Mick Flavin and who else? There was loads. Yeah, I used to always watch like all the videos and stuff. So my influences...
It makes me feel really old when you say you listen to these when you're like 3 years old. And I was like, I remember being 17 or...
No way. Oh God. But you only look my age, like.
You stop, thank you.
I swear, you look so young.
I said I'll send you the makeup, it's okay.
Honestly, I'm sure everyone that watches you would not believe your age at all. Literally. I'm being serious. Whatever face cream you're using, send me some.
And one more question, because it's been a long interview, but a very interesting interview. I want to thank you again very much for coming on. But this is a random question. Of course, no problem. Maybe when you're big and famous, you come back and talk to us again. Be no harm.
Oh, well, hopefully if I ever do become big and famous, you'll have me back on.
Oh, of course. But this last question, I just throw it at anyone for the crack. But have you any ghost stories?
Any what?
Any ghosts?
Ghost stories. I'm the translator sometimes.
You're from Ireland, sure. You should understand me.
As in like, okay, along the lines of what? Like what?
Have you seen anything?
Have you ever seen a ghost? Have you had a funny experience?
Oh, ghosts!
With a
Oh,
ghost?
like actual ghost stories.
Yeah.
Well, okay,
okay, we have
right.
something.
So
I guess we're going to add another hour on now.
I haven't, but when I was born, this actually no one knows this, so this is completely year exclusive. I was born with bilateral telopaths, which is I had operations on both my feet.
Okay.
And like I still have like scars or whatever. I'm sure loads of people have probably know of someone. If you're explained, that's like the fancy word they've on it. It's like, what's the other word? This like club feet, if that makes sense.
Okay.
But basically all it was is like the bone structure wasn't right. So I had operations like to like straighten up my feet so I'd be able to like walk without any issues and everything. I was only like a baby, like it was when I was born.
Yeah.
But so I was in plaster casts for a long time. And when I was 6 months old, my dad's mom, Julia, she passed away. And I obviously wouldn't remember, I was only a baby, but when she passed away, she had said, I look after her feet. And there was actually a stage where one of the plaster casts, which are like, you know, they have to be cut off, like came off. And my right foot was like really, really infected. And only for the cast had come off and they realized that that needed to be treated ASAP.
Wouldn't have seen that.
Then it was very, very strange, but it was just the way it all happened was, you know, she had said when she was, I'll look after her. And even the doctors were like, there's someone up there that was watching over her because that could have led to like severe infection. I could have lost the foot, everything, you know. So I'd look well now being wheeled onto the stage, wouldn't I?
You wouldn't be having as many sexy boots on.
God forgive me. Do you know, I'm very blessed that someone was looking out for me, so it must have been Granny. But
that's an interesting story.
Yeah, I took her name for my confirmation. So my full name is Chantelle Marie Julia Padden, and my first name actually happens to mean little singer in French.
Oh, Chantelle!
Oh, wow,
Chantelle. Yeah,
nice.
That's why I have Chant on my. I will eventually turn it to Chantelle, but I just obviously need to, you know, more highlights and stuff.
I did notice that. I was scrolling along seeing where's the rest of it? Where's the L?
And chant is actually another word which is French, which like to sing, or it's like music related as well, like the CHANT. So it all kind of ties in. Like it all ties in and stuff. But that's a little. Well, it's not a ghost story, but it's kind of just creepy.
It's an interesting
weird how it kind of revolved around like what she had said, and they couldn't understand how the cast came off, and
comforting as well,
that they got that they got to it in time, and so it was crazy. Like my feet are fine now, like I wear heels and everything. I own so many
people
shoes.
now are going to be looking at your feet whenever you're on the stage or anything.
I'm surprised people have never like actually noticed the scars. I never talk about it. Like it's just one of those things you don't think. Well, do you know, actually, I
like get them feet out.
Oh God!
This took a turn.
It's a strange one, but sure. Do you know what? If you can't be open with people to follow you, then you're not really interested in areas. So at least they know now. But I just kind of embrace them. I don't really notice them. They're not that big, like, but they're just that was the weird one that happened. It just revolved around. Yeah, it was weird. Yeah.
I think that wraps up a really, really good interview, Chantelle, and I'm sure Jodie would say the same, but we hope you have the best shot on The Voice that you could possibly have, and, you know, go on to win it, or go on for second place even. You might do better if you come second place. So we'll see.
We'll definitely be behind you.
You get it on. I'm sure you will. Of course you will. But,
hopefully. I'm trying to do it for the West, do it for Belmullet, and of course Ireland as well, because I know we often see a lot of people from Northern Ireland and Dublin, and it's great to have any representation from Ireland, you know, but they've said to me that they've never had anyone on the show from the part of Ireland I'm from. So, you know, for everyone, my side of the Shannon, you know, like all like Galway, Mayo area and everything, you know, not being biased or anything, but it is nice that I've
secured some votes over there anyway, haven't you?
Well, see, this is the thing. There's no votes this year. It's all coaches.
Oh, really?
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's now unless they bring the votes back for the final. But there's no votes and stuff. So whoever is on the show, then they will have a good shot. You know, if the coaches like what they hear.
Good.
So
It's not like a popularity competition in that way then, or it's more kind of based on actual...
I tend not to do well in those kind of competitions.
Well, again, we wish you all the best, and hopefully you'll come back on and talk to us again next year or a year after. We'll all be in a different place at that stage, hopefully. Back to gigging and all. Yeah.
And I just want to say thank you very much for bringing me on as your guest. This is my first ever podcast, so I'm delighted that you guys thought of me to bring me on. And of course, I'd love to do another podcast in the near future. And I wish you the very best of luck.
Thanks very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Chantelle.
You're all right. Thank you for having me.
So there was Chantelle's second part of the interview. She was gas crack, isn't she, Jo?
She was brilliant. I mean, we probably could have talked to her all day long, and we could have done a whole series just on Chantelle, to be fair. She was fascinating.
We'll have to get her back now when she's after topping the charts and all that crap.
If she remembers who we are.
Yeah, exactly. But we're our first podcast, as she said, so, she'll have to remember.
Yeah. Special place in our heart, hopefully.
Exactly. So at the end of episodes now, we're going to do this new segment called the Folkin Album Club, where each of us will suggest an album that the other would listen to. And of course, you can listen to it along with us, listen to it in your own time. So the next episode, we'll come back and we'll chat a little bit about each other's albums and give our opinions. And also feel free to write in what you thought of the albums as well on the messages on the social, or even want to contact us on our email address. Joe, I'll give out the old email address. It's folkinaroundpodcast@gmail.com. Simple enough. Folkinaroundpodcast@gmail.com.
He's been practicing that all day, guys.
So if you ever want to write in anything at all, questions for upcoming guests, your thoughts on anything to do with the country music, your thoughts on us, and that's all.
Maybe
just
not
write into us. Maybe not that one, I don't know. But we might even read it out on the air and give you a shout out. But for now, we'll do our Folkin Album Club. So, Joe, what is your suggestion for me to listen to?
So my suggestion for you is Derek Ryan's album, and it's not probably the one everyone would be thinking, but my favourite Derek Ryan album is the Nashville Songbook. So it's an amazing album. He went over to Nashville, obviously, to record it, do some writing on it, and it is completely a self-penned album of Derek's. So it really sets it aside from everyone else, and I think you get a real idea of who he is. So that's my suggestion for this week.
Cool.
What about yourself?
My suggestion is Chris Stapleton's newest album. He released it this year, called Starting Over. And I just love his voice. I love his style. I love the instruments, the vintage feel of it all. But I'll say no more. You listen to yourself and get your own thoughts on it. And of course, listeners, feel free to have a go have a listen to those albums as well, and let us know what you thought. And each week at the end of each episode, we'll do the same segment. But for now, we're going to sign off with her just to let you know where you can actually talk to us. So where can they find us online, Joe?
So we are on all the good socials. So Facebook, Instagram and TikTok. We are at Folkin Around Podcast. And on Twitter, we are Folkin Around Pod. Cool.
And what's Chantelle's socials as well?
So Chantelle, very, very easy to remember across all of her socials. She is simply Chantelle Padden.
Of course, I had to be awkward with my old socials. I think I'm on Facebook, I'm Copper Kelly Music. On Instagram, Copper_Kelly. And Twitter's Copper Kelly IRL. Because, it was kind of it was a hard one to get common one on across all.
Get them fitted in.
Yeah, exactly. But what's your own, Joe?
So on my Facebook, Instagram and TikTok, I am at Welcome to Jodie Land. And on Twitter, I am Welcome to Jodie. Again, a bit difficult to fit them in.
Yes. And actually, I must say, by the time you hear this, my latest single, 16 Tons, will probably be released on all streaming platforms and onto radio. So February 12th is coming live onto Spotify, iTunes and Apple Music. So if you haven't already, go over and give it an old spin, or give it an old download on iTunes if you can. And I hope you really like it. But that's all we have to say, is it, Joe?
That is. Thank you all for getting this far with us.
All right. As always, bye, folkers.
Bye.